First contact. The UES Intrepid glided silently through the inky void of deep space, its sleek silver hull reflecting starlight like a mirror. Captain Lena Sorensen sat in her command chair on the bridge, absent-mindedly drumming her fingers against the armrest. It had been months since their last resupply, and the crew was restless for some excitement. "Captain, long-range sensors are picking up an anomaly," reported her science officer, Jamal Khatri. His brow furrowed as he studied the readout. "It appears to be a massive spacecraft of unknown configuration." Sorensen leaned forward, steel-gray eyes narrowing. "Unknown configuration. Are you saying it's not human?" "That's exactly what I'm saying, Captain. The energy signature is like nothing we've ever encountered." A ripple of unease passed through the bridge crew. In all their years of deep space exploration, they had never made contact with another spacefaring species. The possibility had always existed, but to have it become reality was another matter entirely. Sorensen straightened in her seat, squaring her shoulders. "Helm, plot and intercept course. Comms, broadcast a standard greeting on all frequencies. Let's show whoever they are that humanity comes in peace." As the Intrepid surged forward to meet the alien vessel, Sorensen couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter would change the course of human history. For better or worse remained to be seen. The alien ship loomed before them, a behemoth that dwarfed the Intrepid like an ocean liner next to a rowboat. Its hull was a shimmering iridescent purple, completely smooth without any discernible seams or edges. It hung motionless in space, seemingly unconcerned by the comparatively tiny human ship approaching it. "Captain, we're being hailed," said the comms officer, a note of surprise in her voice. "They're requesting permission to send a delegation aboard." Sorensen exchanged a look with her executive officer, Commander Lai Xiao. This was all moving very fast, but what choice did they have? Grant them permission. Let's prepare a proper welcome in the hangar bay. The tension was palpable as Sorensen and her senior staff stood at attention, watching the alien shuttle descend into the hangar in a thrumming blue column of light. The ship settled to the deck as softly as a feather, and for a moment, all was still. Then with a hiss, a ramp lowered from the underside of the craft, and three figures emerged. Sorensen wasn't sure what she had expected, but it certainly wasn't this. The aliens were tall and willowy, with pale lavender skin and elongated heads topped with elaborate crystalline headdresses. They wore shimmering robes that seemed to flow like liquid with their every movement, and their large almond-shaped eyes sparkled with intelligence. The one in the center, who wore a headdress more ornate than the others, stepped forward and inclined their head in a graceful gesture of greeting. "I am Ambassador Xyloth of the Kalinar Imperium," they said, their voice melodious and resonant. "On behalf of the Imperator, I extend greetings to you, the first humans we have encountered among the stars." Sorensen stepped forward, inclining her head in turn, while spreading her arms in the traditional human gesture of peaceful greeting. "I am Captain Lena Sorensen of the United Earth Ship Intrepid. We are explorers, seekers of knowledge and friendship among the stars. We are honored to make your acquaintance." Xyloth's eyes crinkled in what Sorensen hoped was a smile. "The honor is ours, Captain. Your species is young to the galactic stage, but your curiosity and spirit of adventure do you credit. Come, let us adjourn to somewhere more comfortable to discuss an alliance between our peoples." As the human and Kalinar delegations made their way out of the hangar, Sorensen couldn't suppress the surge of excitement rising within her. This was the beginning of a new era for humanity, one filled with the promise of new frontiers and new friends waiting to be discovered among the stars. Yet in the back of her mind, a thread of apprehension lingered. The Kalinar had referred to humanity as young, a subtle reminder of just how much catching up they had to do. Sorensen only hoped that youthful spirit would be enough to prove humanity's worth on the galactic stage. Little did she know, that chance would come sooner than anyone imagined, in a form no one could have predicted. The first test of human ingenuity and resolve was just around the corner. The shooting contest. Captain Sorensen, and her delegation found themselves in a vast, airy chamber that seemed to be grown rather than built, with soaring arches of gleaming purple crystal. Ambassador Xyloth led them to a large oval table and gestured for them to sit. "Before we discuss the particulars of an alliance," Xyloth began, steepling their long, delicate fingers, "the Imperator has requested a demonstration of human capabilities. A friendly contest, if you will, to gauge your technological prowess." Sorensen exchanged glances with her officers. This was not entirely unexpected. It made sense that the Kalinar would want to assess a potential ally's strengths and weaknesses. "What did you have in mind, Ambassador?" she asked, keeping her tone carefully neutral. Xyloth's eyes sparkled with what might have been amusement. "A test of arms. Your species still uses chemical propellant firearms, do you not? We propose a shooting contest between our respective military champions." A murmur of unease rippled through the human delegation. It was true that ballistic weapons were still a mainstay of Earth's militaries, but they were beginning to seem downright archaic compared to the energy weapons the Kalinar carried. Sorensen was about to diplomatically suggest an alternative contest when a deep voice spoke up from the end of the table. "I volunteer, Mom." All eyes turned to the speaker, a broad-shouldered man with close-cropped hair and a square jaw. It was Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Donnelly, the Intrepid's armory chief and resident firearms expert. Sorensen hesitated. Donnelly was an excellent marksman, but this was a risky move. If he lost, it could undermine Earth's position in these negotiations. But the glint in Donnelly's eye told her he was not a man to back down from a challenge. And perhaps, just perhaps, he might surprise them all. "Very well, Gunnery Sergeant," she said at last. "You'll represent humanity in this contest." Xyloth clapped their hands in delight. "Excellent. Let us adjourn to the training grounds." The training grounds turned out to be a colossal indoor range, with targets of varying sizes and distances. A group of Kalinar soldiers stood at attention, their sleek energy rifles held at precise angles across their chests. Donnelly stepped forward, a large case in hand. He knelt and opened it, revealing an assortment of human firearms, pistols, rifles, even a sniper rifle. The Kalinar soldiers leaned in, their expressions a mix of curiosity and disdain. One of them, who wore an ornate insignia marking him as a high rank, picked up a pistol between thumb and forefinger, as if holding a dead rodent. "This is your weapon," he scoffed, his melodious voice dripping with contempt. "A crude chemical-propelled slug thrower. How quaint." Donnelly just smiled, a slow, confident curve of his lips. "Don't knock it till you've tried it," he drawled. The Kalinar officer's eyes narrowed. He replaced the pistol and gestured to the range. "Then by all means, demonstrate." Donnelly selected a rifle, checked the chamber and magazine with practiced efficiency, then stepped up to the firing line. The Kalinar soldiers hefted their energy rifles, which hummed with barely constrained power. A chime sounded, and holographic targets sprang to life, darting, whirling, zigzagging across the range in dizzying patterns. The Kalinar opened fire, lances of searing light flashing from their rifles. Most hit their marks, vaporizing the holograms in puffs of sparkling motes. Then it was Donnelly's turn. He raised the rifle to his shoulder, the muzzle tracking smoothly as a target zipped past. He exhaled, a slow, steady breath, and fired. The rifle barked, a sharp staccato crack echoing across the range. The hologram winked out of existence, a perfect hole drilled through its center. The Kalinar soldiers exchanged looks of surprise, their earlier disdain giving way to grudging respect. But Donnelly was just getting started. He moved down the line, dropping targets with mechanical precision. Standing, kneeling, prone. It made no difference. Each squeeze of the trigger meant another hologram blinked out of existence. By the time the chime sounded again, not a single target remained. Donnelly stood, his rifle smoking faintly, and looked to the Kalinar. They stared back in stunned silence. The high-ranking officer who had scoffed at the human weapons stepped forward, his expression unreadable. Impressive, he said, the word sounding like it was dragged from him unwillingly. Perhaps we underestimated your species' capability. Donnelly just shrugged, a picture of nonchalance despite the sweat beading his brow. We humans are full of surprises. As Captain Sorensen watched, she couldn't suppress a surge of pride. Gunnery Sergeant Donnelly had just shown the galaxy what humanity was made of, but something told her this was only the beginning. The real test was yet to come. Defying Expectations, Part 3. Defying Expectations. News of the human victory in the shooting contest spread like wildfire through the Kalinar capital. Captain Sorensen and her crew found themselves the center of attention, with curious Kalinar citizens stopping them in the crystalline corridors to offer congratulations or ask for demonstrations of their primitive firearms. But not everyone was impressed. As Sorensen and Gunnery Sergeant Donnelly were escorted to a grand banquet in their honor, they overheard snatches of conversation from the Kalinar guards. A fluke, surely. These humans cannot possibly compare to our plasma cannons. Wouldn't last a minute in a real battle. Their weapons are toys compared to ours. Donnelly's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. Sorensen laid a hand on his arm, a silent reminder to let the comments slide. They couldn't afford to cause a diplomatic incident, not when they were so close to securing an alliance. The banquet hall was a sight to behold, a vast space with a ceiling that sparkled like a starry sky. Long tables groaned under the weight of exotic dishes, and a sweet, haunting melody played by unseen musicians filled the air. Ambassador Zyloth greeted them at the entrance, their crystalline headdress glittering in the soft light. Captain Sorensen, Gunnery Sergeant Donnelly, please be welcome at our table. They were seated at the head of the largest table, beside the Imperator themselves. The ruler of the Kalinar was an imposing figure, with a headdress twice as large and elaborate as Zyloth's, and piercing golden eyes that seemed to see straight into one's soul. We congratulate you on your victory, Gunnery Sergeant, the Imperator said, their voice a deep, resonant boom. You have shown that humanity possesses skill, if perhaps not the most advanced technology. Donnelly inclined his head respectfully. Thank you, Your Grace. But with respect, our technology is more advanced than it may seem at first glance. A ripple of laughter ran around the table, and Sorensen shot Donnelly a warning look. But the Gunnery Sergeant forged ahead, undeterred. Take our armor, for instance. It may not look like much, but it's made of a carbon nanotube weave that can disperse energy impacts. And our rifles use caseless ammunition with a muzzle velocity that matches some directed energy weapons. The laughter died away, replaced by murmurs of surprise and skepticism. The Imperator leaned forward, their golden eyes glinting. Bold claims, human. Can you substantiate them? Donnelly met the Imperator's gaze squarely. I can, Your Grace. Give me any target, any range, and I'll show you what human weapons can do. The Imperator sat back, a slow smile spreading across their angular features. Very well. A bold claim deserves a bold test. At dawn, you will face our most challenging target, the unbreakable sphere. Succeed, and humanity will have proven itself a worthy ally. Fail, and well, let us hope it does not come to that. A heavy silence fell over the banquet hall. Sorensen's heart hammered in her chest. The unbreakable sphere. It sounded ominous, and the stakes couldn't be higher. But one look at Donnelly told her he would not back down. The Gunnery Sergeant stood, his chair scraping loudly in the sudden quiet. I accept your challenge, Your Grace. At dawn, I will break the unbreakable. Dawn came far too quickly. As the first rays of the alien sun crept over the horizon, painting the crystal spires in shades of lavender and gold, Sorensen and Donnelly were escorted to a vast arena on the outskirts of the city. The stands were packed with Kalinar spectators, a sea of glittering headdresses and whispering voices. In the center of the arena stood the unbreakable sphere, a perfect orb of gleaming black metal, easily 10 meters in diameter. The Imperator's voice boomed out over the assembly. The human has claimed their weapons can break our most impenetrable defense. Let them now prove it, or forever hold their peace. Donnelly stepped forward, a large rifle cradled in his arms. It was a weapon Sorensen had never seen before, with a barrel nearly as long as the gunnery sergeant was tall, and a scope that looked more suited to a satellite dish than a firearm. He knelt, settling the rifle's bipod on the ground and peering through the scope. The crowd fell silent, a collective breath held in anticipation. Donnelly exhaled slowly, his finger caressing the trigger. Then, with a roar that shook the arena, he fired. The sphere appeared untouched. A breeze carried the acrid scent of propellant downrange. The Kalinar spectators began to buzz with derision, their laughter building towards a mocking crescendo, until a crack appeared on the sphere's flawless surface. Then another, and another. With a sound like 1,000 panes of glass shattering at once, the unbreakable sphere burst apart, fragments raining down onto the stunned crowd. In the ringing silence that followed, Donnelly stood, calmly collecting his rifle. He turned to face the Imperator's box and bowed deeply. "Never underestimate humanity," he said, his voice carrying to every corner of the arena. "We may be young, but we're full of surprises." As the crowd erupted into chaos, some cheering, some shouting in disbelief, Sorensen could only shake her head in amazement. Gunnery Sergeant Donnelly had done it. He had shattered not just the unbreakable sphere, but every preconception the Kalinar had about humanity. Now, the real work could begin. Turning the tables. In the aftermath of Gunnery Sergeant Donnelly's stunning feat, the mood in the Kalinar capital shifted dramatically. The once derisive whispers turned to murmurs of respect, even awe. Human technology, it seemed, was not to be underestimated. Captain Sorensen found herself in high-level meetings with Kalinar officials, discussing the terms of a potential alliance. Ambassador Zyloff, in particular, seemed eager to learn more about Earth's capabilities. "Your gunnery sergeant's display was most impressive," Zyloff said during one such meeting, their crystalline headdress glinting in the soft light of the council chamber. "But I am curious. What other technological marvels does humanity possess? Surely your weapons are not your only area of expertise." Sorensen leaned forward, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Ambassador, our technological prowess extends far beyond firearms. In fact, I'd say our greatest strength lies in our adaptability and ingenuity. We excel at finding innovative solutions to problems, often with limited resources." Zyloff's eyes sparkled with interest. "Intriguing. Could you provide an example?" Sorensen thought for a moment, then nodded. "Take our spacecraft, for instance. The Intrepid may not be as large or as advanced as your ships, but it's incredibly efficient. Our propulsion system allows us to travel vast distances with minimal fuel consumption, and our life support systems can recycle air and water with near-perfect efficiency." Zyloff made a trilling sound that might have been a hum of approval. "Impressive. Your species seems to have a knack for doing more with less." "It's a necessity for us," Sorensen explained. "Earth's resources are not infinite, so we've had to learn to be resourceful. It's made us resilient and innovative." As the meetings continued, Sorensen began to realize that the Kalinar's initial disdain for humanity stemmed not from malice, but from a fundamental misunderstanding of human capabilities. They had assumed that technological advancement followed a single linear path, that a species with less advanced weapons must be less advanced overall. But humanity, with its diverse array of technologies and its unique approach to problem-solving, defied that assumption. Gunnery Sergeant Donnelly's shattering of the unbreakable sphere was just the beginning. Over the following days, the human delegation gave demonstrations of Earth's medical technology, which could heal wounds and cure diseases that the Kalinar still struggled with. They showcased their computing power with AI systems that could analyze vast amounts of data in seconds. They even gave a tour of the Intrepid, highlighting its efficient design and versatile capabilities. With each demonstration, the Kalinar's respect for humanity grew. And with that respect came a growing sense of partnership, of two species learning from each other's strengths. But the true test of this budding alliance came sooner than anyone expected. A distress call, crackling with static and urgency, echoed through the Intrepid's comm system. It was from a Kalinar outpost on the edge of their territory, under attack by an unknown alien force. Heavy losses, we can't hold them off much longer. Requesting immediate assistance. Captain Sorensen didn't hesitate. Set a course for the outpost, maximum speed, and prepare for battle. The Intrepid surged into warp, the stars outside streaking into lines of light. In the armory, Gunnery Sergeant Donnelly prepared his weapons, his face set with grim determination. When they dropped out of warp at the outpost, they found a scene of chaos. Sleek, predatory ships swarmed the Kalinar defenses, their weapons leaving scorch marks and gaping holes in the crystalline structures. The Kalinar returned fire, but their energy weapons seemed to have little effect on the attackers' shields. "Open a channel," Sorensen ordered, her voice tense but controlled. "This is Captain Lena Sorensen of the United Earth ship Intrepid. You are attacking our allies. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." The response was a barrage of weapons fire that rocked the Intrepid, its shields flaring bright under the onslaught. "I thought you might say that," Sorensen muttered under her breath. "Gunnery Sergeant Donnelly, you're up." In the Intrepid's cargo bay, a large hatch yawned open, revealing Donnelly in a bulky, armored spacesuit. He was holding the largest gun Sorensen had ever seen, a behemoth of a weapon that looked more like a satellite dish than a firearm. "Introducing the Peacemaker," Donnelly said over the comms, his voice tinged with a grim sort of satisfaction. "A railgun capable of firing a 20-kilogram tungsten slug at Mach 7. Let's see how they like a taste of human ingenuity." With a roar that shook the Intrepid down to its bulkheads, the Peacemaker fired. The slug, little more than a blur of motion, punched clean through the shields of the nearest attacker and kept going, leaving a perfectly circular hole in its wake. The attacking ship listed, sparks and debris spewing from the wound, before it detonated in a blossom of fire and shrapnel. A stunned silence fell over the battlefield. Then, as one, the remaining attackers turned tail and fled, vanishing into warp with a flash of light. In the aftermath, as damage was assessed and wounds were tended, the Kalinar leadership turned to Sorensen with expressions of gratitude and awe. "You saved us," Ambassador Zyloff said, their voice trembling with emotion. "We thought ourselves superior, but in our hour of need, it was humanity that came to our aid." Sorensen shook her head. "We did what any ally would do, what any friend would do. And make no mistake, Ambassador, humanity is proud to call the Kalinar our friends." As the Intrepid set course back to Earth, its mission of diplomacy and discovery complete, Sorensen couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. Humanity had taken its first steps onto the galactic stage, and it had done so with courage, ingenuity, and compassion. The future, she knew, was bright indeed. An alliance of equals. The journey back to Earth was a time of reflection and celebration for the crew of the Intrepid. They had not only made first contact with an alien species, but they had also forged a powerful alliance, one based on mutual respect and shared values. In the ship's mess hall, the crew gathered to raise a toast to their success. Glasses clinked and laughter echoed off the metal bulkheads as they recounted the moments of tension and triumph. Captain Sorensen looked around at her crew, her heart swelling with pride. They had each played a crucial role in this historic mission. From the diplomatic finesse of her officers to the technological prowess of her engineers, every member had contributed to their success. And then there was Gunnery Sergeant Donnelly, the hero of the hour, the man who had shown the galaxy what humanity was made of, not just in terms of their weapons, but in their spirit, their determination, their ingenuity. As if summoned by her thoughts, Donnelly appeared at her side, a glass of amber liquid in his hand. "Permission to speak freely, ma'am?" he asked, a twinkle in his eye. Sorensen smiled. "Always, Gunnery Sergeant. I just wanted to say, ma'am, I've been a Marine for a long time, served in a lot of conflicts, seen a lot of things, but this mission, what we accomplished here, It's something special. Something I'll never forget. Sorensen nodded, her throat suddenly tight with emotion. I couldn't agree more, Donnelly. What we've done here, it's not just a victory for the Intrepid or for the unified Earth government. It's a victory for all of humanity. The celebration continued long into the ship's artificial night, but eventually duty called. There were reports to file, repairs to make, and a course to plot back to Earth. When they finally arrived in Earth orbit, they were greeted as heroes. A flotilla of ships, from sleek military cruisers to humble civilian transports, formed an honor guard as the Intrepid glided towards the massive orbital docks. And there, waiting for them at the airlock, was a delegation led by none other than the President of the Unified Earth Government, Captain Sorensen. The President said, grasping her hand firmly, "On behalf of all of Earth, welcome home. And congratulations on a mission well accomplished." The debriefings and ceremonies that followed were a whirlwind of activity. The crew of the Intrepid found themselves the center of media attention, their faces splashed across news feeds and their names becoming household words. But for Sorensen, the true reward came a few weeks later in a quiet ceremony attended only by a select few. Ambassador Zyloff, resplendent in their formal robes, stood before a podium, flanked by the Kalinar Imperator and the President of the Unified Earth Government. In recognition of the extraordinary courage, compassion, and ingenuity demonstrated by the crew of the United Earth ship Intrepid, Zyloff began, their voice ringing with solemnity. And in the spirit of the alliance forged between our peoples, the Kalinar Imperium hereby declares humanity to be our equals among the stars. There was a moment of shocked silence, then a burst of applause. Equality with the Kalinar, one of the oldest and most advanced species in the known galaxy, was a staggering achievement. As the applause died down, Zyloff turned to Sorensen and Donnelly, who stood at attention before the podium. "Captain Lena Sorensen, Gunnery Sergeant Marcus Donnelly," Zyloff said, "for your roles in forging this alliance and for your exemplary demonstration of human valor and ingenuity, the Imperium bestows upon you our highest honor, the Star of Unity." They stepped forward, placing around each of their necks a shimmering crystal pendant in the shape of a star. It was a simple gesture, but one laden with significance. As the ceremony concluded and the dignitaries began to disperse, Sorensen found herself standing alone with Donnelly, gazing out a viewport at the blue-green curve of Earth below. "You know, Gunny," she said softly, "when we set out on this mission, I never imagined it would end like this. An alliance with an alien species, humanity taking its place among the stars." Donnelly chuckled. "I don't think anyone could have predicted this, ma'am. But that's the thing about humanity. We have a way of surprising people, even ourselves." Sorensen nodded, a smile tugging at her lips. "That we do, Gunny, that we do." As they stood there, two soldiers, two friends, united by an experience that would forever change the course of human history, Sorensen felt a swell of hope for the future. Humanity had taken its first bold steps into a larger universe, and with allies like the Kalinar at their side, with the ingenuity and determination that had carried them this far, there was no limit to how far they might go. The stars, as they say, were the limit, and humanity was ready to reach for them.